for sticking around at Startup Weekend the whole weekend, or for those of you who come on Friday and come back, thank you for making the journey back to Space Cubed. This has almost been, it still is, the second Startup Weekend Perth. Welcome back. I'm going to get into, first of all, just some formalities and so on to explain the process again for those who haven't been with us the whole journey, explain a bit more about the Startup Weekend movement again, what our teams have been through, and we'll get into the presentations before too long. Again, Startup Weekend, we've seen this slide a few times before, but is a global entity with a mission just to support entrepreneurship and nurture entrepreneurship around the world. They're doing, I think, a pretty sensational job of it at the moment, and I suspect by the end of tonight we'll have hopefully 14 or 15 teams who agree are a testament to that. The events really are massive. It's been going for, ballpark 5 years now, and we're already looking at 670 cities, I think it was. That's out of date. I'm right, they're wrong. Yeah, over 1,000 events. There was 10 or 12 on this weekend alone, so we're looking at kind of 500 events or more each weekend, which obviously, you get up to, big fun, 500 every year. We're ramping up pretty quickly. This weekend alone, Perth down here in the lonely southeast corner, I guess you'd call it, of that two-dimensional map, along with little cities like Paris and Tokyo and a bunch of ones in the States. We're all doing their thing. Global sponsors are, I guess, the ones who support the Startup Weekend, the overall company entity, which is based in Seattle. They are very, very loyal fans and supporters of the group. The Kaufman Foundation we talked about a bit the other day down the bottom, who they're all about entrepreneurship, and to have groups like them and then these very well-known companies above supporting it shows, I guess, that these companies are very smart to position themselves around industries that we're all very passionate about. But each of these companies at some point or another was a startup. Each city where a Startup Weekend happens was a startup. And to have them on board now, I guess giving back at the grassroots end is brilliant. So Amazon Web Services we'll talk a bit more about later. They're also a local sponsor, which is terrific. .co, a bunch of the teams have used their services augmented by domains upselling websites this weekend to register their businesses they're about to tell us about. Microsoft BizSpark, again, a local sponsor who talked to us a bit about their products on Friday night and giving away a prize, which we'll talk about a bit later. Google, everyone's heard of in the middle, so we don't need to dwell on them. The local sponsors I would like to dwell on a bit. I ranted and raved a bit about this on Friday night, but the input and support of the local sponsors is just, it's invaluable. We have no chance of getting close to running an event like this without their support. At the base kind of operational level, the whole thing is volunteer run, I should say. So there's a bunch of hours put in there, but we obviously have a bunch of overheads that we have to cover too. We do run a pretty lean and mean ship a la every startup around the world, hopefully, if they're doing it right. But these are the people who essentially subsidise everyone's ticket so we can make it as affordable as possible. The summary I used on the weekend is that we have had some sensational food this weekend, and your ticket prices, the $75 or $100 a ticket, essentially covers the cost of that food. Everything else we have, the mentors, the judges, the people flying in, the access to the venues, is all essentially paid for by the sponsors, so we really do thank them for that. City of Perth I talked a bit about on Friday, and I'm still going to say it again, I just can't speak highly enough for the way they've approached the innovative industries. It is, and I think last year I ranted and raved a bit about government as a general rule, and I probably do every day of the week, but I think in terms of best practice, they are showing it right now because they've realised that we don't have to own and control these things anymore, and in fact, they work better when we don't. What we need to do is we have all these resources at our disposal, and we need to just enable the people who are out there doing good things. That's like this place where we are currently, Space Cubed, who's another of our sponsors, is probably the best example of that in Perth. This has completely lit up the whole startup innovation ecosystem here. Wouldn't have got off the ground without the support of City of Perth and others. So to have their support on this Startup Weekend, founders, and hopefully a bunch of other things in the future is priceless. Space Cubed I have touched base on. It is a sensational venue. Everyone who comes in here, you see their jaw kind of hit the floor. It's different to what we're used to with traditional offices. It is the way of the future, I think, and the impact it's had on Perth's kind of blossoming startup ecosystem just cannot be understated. Amazon Web Services, again, very, very loyal, good friends. They helped us out big time last time at Startup Weekend, stuck around again to help us out this time and donating some of the prizes we'll talk about later. Microsoft BizSpark I've touched on already, also helped us out both financially and with prizes, priceless stuff. Amcom, internet provider, have provided the big fat pipe which goes into the building. It is probably not quite a poison chalice, I wouldn't say, but it's very, very hard to provide an internet service at a hackathon style event. I think they've done absolutely all they possibly could, and to get on at the last minute like they did is just absolutely fantastic. We were kind of left backs against the wall a little bit there, and to have a company like, I gave them a sponsor presentation via email, and to have them get back to us within a day to say, hey, this sounds like a really cool event, we want to do whatever we can to support it, is just, it's phenomenal. I'm not used to large or even small corporations moving so quickly, so that's fantastic. Founder Institute down the bottom we're going to hear a bit more about shortly. A bunch of the shirts you can see around the room, light blue, and also I think grey shirts for participants, are thanks to our friends at Founder Institute. Pollinizer, we had Phil give us a great keynote on Friday night, and for the people at Founders, he helped them on Thursday too. As I said on Friday, you don't kind of get much better in the business at the moment than those guys. To have Phil over here, the generous support they provide, and also some of the prizes later is brilliant. Sync Labs, we've talked about a bit before. Very, very good relationship, I think, with Space Cubed as two entities just at the forefront of this co-working space. I suspect we'll see another, God knows how many of these spaces in Perth before too long, and they are the trendsetters, which is just brilliant. Sunday Times and Perth Now are media sponsors. I've got Michelle down here as a judge, so I look forward to hearing her questions later on as she grills some of the contestants. I talked again on Friday night about Amy, who I can see probably, hopefully, tweeting that I'm not saying anything stupid from the second row. But she has been really, really, really clever, and I'm not saying that because she's here. I'm saying it because we've seen this ecosystem light up around us. Those of us who've thrown ourselves into it or come down to the events at Space Cube have started seeing this passion and energy and so on bubbling, and Amy's been smart enough to spot that and realise that maybe we don't have to just hear about mining and ASX-listed companies and all these other things. It's nice to have some interesting stories that give us hope for the future. For me, it's empowering to see all these little testimonials and people popping out of the woodwork doing stuff that's out of the ordinary and taking risks and trying to create their own future, I guess. And the way Sunday Times and Perth Now support us as a community in that regard is priceless, just shining some light on people who otherwise are quite anonymous because they're sitting behind their computers late at night putting in more hours at work than anyone. Euro and AgWorld, I also, I think I'm saying can't speak high enough a lot, but that's because I can't. Matt McFarlane stepped up big time at the very late notice. I still owe him a shirt of size to be determined. That's a Matt joke. That's okay. That's not mine. Again, when we had a couple of issues recently, those guys just stepped up fantastically. Matt was one of our judges at the first startup weekend. I hope that he and the team at AgWorld in particular, and you more broadly, have benefited from startup weekend. I do notice a few email addresses, suffixes in our registered participants from AgWorld, so hopefully they're learning some more at startup weekend, meeting new people, making connections, and then taking that back to their 9 to 5 or probably 8 to 7 jobs Monday to Friday. 361 we had on board last year as a sponsor, and again this year it's great to have these groups coming back supporting us year on year. I might use that as a segue, hopefully, to hit up Chris Farquhar for a sponsorship from Reparo again next time. Chris was one of our mentors in the first and second events. He was voted the most popular mentor the first time, and I guess as a way of maybe paying us back or saying thank you for, I think it was a generously donated Amazon Kindle Fire. Maybe he's kind of paid for that plus some with a sponsorship there. Rowan Wallace, we'll talk about a bit in the prizes, also came and helped a bunch of the teams with IP issues yesterday. It's something that most young startuppers don't necessarily understand. Some don't even think of or go to the effort of digging into it. He provided some guidance there and will do so more in the future. In-House is a terrific local company that I'm really, really impressed by. In-House itself is a consulting agency. They've got a really, really interesting product that I suspect we're hearing more about in the future. They've helped providing and chipping in towards the sensational food we've had, which was provided by Peter Haywood. I know she's got a normal job and only caters for special events, but every single person who comes to our weekends, whether it's someone like Rowan flying in, just says this catering is absolutely sensational. I'm used to the crappy pizza we served everyone on Friday. They come in and get mountains of delicious food all weekend is just brilliant. And the Hilton down the bottom there who's put up our 3 mentors and judges who've flown in. We appreciate their support again. At this point, I'm going to pass to Claire now that I've skipped to her first slide.
So Founder Institute are really pleased to be able to work in cohorts with Sam and his awesome team at Startup Weekend. I'm also one of the organisers, so we try and get as involved as we can. And sponsoring the T-shirts was our little way of contributing to this awesome event. So we just wanted to give you 2 minutes of what is Founder Institute, because I've been asked that by lots of people this weekend who maybe haven't heard of us before. Founder Institute is an idea stage accelerator. So we provide a framework for people with an idea who can't quite work out where to go with that idea next. And certainly that fits in really nicely after something like a startup weekend where there's lots of really fantastic ideas bouncing around, lots of people meeting awesome new teams, but they don't necessarily know how to keep that momentum going with that specific idea, or if this sparks off some completely different ideas, how they could actually commercialise those ideas and accelerate their businesses towards launch really quickly. So we fit in right after those entrepreneurial events, before something like a funding program, angel investment, or further down the road, having a chat to Mr. McFarlane or any of those other VCs out there. So our goal is to produce meaningful and enduring technology companies, and Founder Institute globally aims to produce eventually 1,000 of those per year. At the moment, we've had over 700 graduates from the Founder Institute in 39 cities around the world. And we do that with a network of 1,500 mentors. And it really is part of a global family. In fact, Jeffrey Payne, who's one of our judges this evening, is director of Founder Institute in Singapore. So he helped us out with our session on Thursday night as well, and is getting involved more in the community here by judging Startup Weekend too. We do it with a 4-month program, and it's a part-time program. You can do it if you have a day job. But roughly it's 15 sessions, 1 evening per week of formal sessions, and in total a minimum of 20 hours per week of extra work that you'll need to do. And the work that you do is applying the knowledge from each session to tasks that you do on your actual business. So it's for people who have got an idea that they're really, really serious about. And the program's quite tough, but certainly looking at the results around the world, pretty rewarding for the people that have made it through so far. So if you want to hear any more about this, you can get in touch with us on Twitter. It's a good way to get hold of Dash and myself at the bottom there. Or if you're interested in coming to any of our public events that we run several in the lead up to each semester. So that'll be kicking off again in another few months' time probably. But certainly follow us at Perth Founders for more information about that. And if you're just interested in having a read about the program, then you can check out the website at fi.co. That's it. Thanks, guys.
Okay, now I've sped through kind of the opening stuff as fast as I can. I'll try to speak slower and just quickly dwell on for a couple of minutes why I love Startup Weekend. This is not one of their generic slides that they ask us to present. This is a really time-consuming event to run, but it is worth it in spades. It is so much fun to be here, to see a bunch of new people learning and getting excited and embracing this community. My 3 takeouts I just kind of tried to jot down this afternoon. For me, this is kind of the first point generally is where, on the first 2 at least, where everyone kind of comes here. It's very much, I think, on Friday, and this is with the greatest respect to everyone, because it's not a bad thing to be like this, because we all are, but everyone comes here thinking it's about their idea, and that's the key word you constantly hear. My idea is this, my idea is that. And I hope by the end of the weekend, most if not all of our participants think more about problems and solutions. For me, that's kind of crucial. An idea is dime a dozen. We can all have them 100 times a day. But once you start thinking about things as there's this problem, and I want to solve it, and when you find one that you're passionate about solving, and if you, which we'll get into next, you come up with the right team to do that with you, that's when really, really good things happen. The individual on the team, again, a lot of people come here on Friday night thinking, I'm going to pitch my idea, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. If you all kind of stop and pause for a second and think about what you've been through with the people on your team this weekend, I suspect most of the teams will have very few of you who knew each other. Probably less than half the team were already friends beforehand. So you've gone through this experience over 48, 54 hours. You've shared this pretty intense period with people you didn't know as of last Thursday. For me, that's kind of pretty amazing. If you think about Startup Weekend as, I like to think about it at least, as kind of, if I was doing my own project by myself, I'd probably learn all this stuff over the sake of 12 months, 18 months, 24 months at your traditional business kind of thing. We cram all that into this really short period of time. For some reason, it does seem to work that people who wouldn't normally get along or might want to kind of feel each other out for a bit first before they start trusting each other with their ideas or their emotions or whatever craziness they get up to. It's pretty ridiculous that we all kind of embrace each other so quickly. And I just reckon it's brilliant to see people go through that with each other and go on this crazy journey with people that, who knows, maybe you won't even stay in touch from tomorrow, but you've come together and sparks collide for this little short period of time, and some people do some really amazing things together, which is just brilliant. The last point there is, again, why I think Startup Weekend works is these time constraints are just ridiculous, and it's what makes it so much fun and so challenging. But by putting people into that environment, I think we squeeze absolutely every ounce of whatever, blood, sweat, and tears we can out of them. We throw everything at you for this short period of time. We send you to hell and back, and at the end of it, you're going to come out exhausted and everything. But all I can hope, and I'll be very surprised if you don't, but all I can hope is that all of our participants have got these lessons they can now apply for the next 150 times they have an idea. To have given up only a weekend of your life, $100, which you would have spent anyway on breakfast and whatever else over the weekend, your sacrifice was 54 hours or 48 hours of your time, and I guess a willingness to look silly and take some risks and keep an open mind for a whole weekend. And I really hope that everyone's payback at the end of this is, lifelong lessons, which is just for me is invaluable. I've made the mistakes. I've spent 2 years building stuff that no one wants, and I wish Startup Weekend was in Perth 5 years ago, and I would be slightly not quite as receding hair, probably a lot less stressed, and probably maybe richer, I don't know. But I'm really happy now, and I guess that's what counts. So it is a great experience. That was terrifically cliche, wasn't it? The organisers I'm going to give a very quick vote of thanks to before we get down to closer to the action. A few of these names and faces are very, we see them everywhere. The Brodie McCullochs and stuff do a fantastic job in the community. To have Brodie and Marcus especially organising another crack team of mentors is just brilliant. Jake helped out with sponsorship this year and last year and has put in so much sweat this weekend. I can't believe the effort it's gone to. Claire's been fantastic and teaches me a whole lot more than she cares to appreciate. I'm not going to try run through everyone, but for me it's really great to have had the team from the first Startup Weekend kind of come back on board and also some new blood join. And even better than that, to be honest, is that over the course of this weekend I've already had 3 people hit me up saying, hey, can I help organise this next one? That for me is a whole lot of people now just going over and above and just putting themselves out there and wanting to help their peers, which is, that's how this community is going to grow. The mentors, again, Marcus put together this absolute crack squad of mentors. We had a terrific team the first time around, and with the greatest respect to them, I think we've gone kind of one better this time. We have had a bunch of people return, which is terrific. Introducing some new blood into that pool is great, and to get some more support and the wisdom of some of these, the gun designers, and especially the company founders that we've got on this list. There's a bunch of, 5 or 6 or more people who are founding genuine businesses. For them to take the time, away from their business and away from their family on a weekend, and impart some of the wisdom that they've picked up over 3, 5, 8, 10 years is very much appreciated. Our teams are so lucky to have the benefit of these people in the room, so we thank them for their time and sacrifice and hope they've had fun too. I promise this is, I think, my last slide. The judges who are sitting down the front are about to grill our teams, hopefully. We do thank them. We've had some travelling from overseas, and Jeffrey here, thank you. Joe in the end, Phil in the middle. We've spread ourselves out quite nicely, our flying people. And then to have a couple of local representatives too, I guess, in Michelle and Rob is brilliant. We look forward to seeing you guys put our teams through the same degree of hell that we've put them through over a 48-hour period. I hope you can kind of condense that down into 5 minutes and really make them squirm, having kind of pitched to people before. And our teams are going to find this, I suspect, in the next hour, but there is nothing like standing up in front of a crowd and telling your story, but then having some people fire some questions back at you. These people have got deep in their idea or their project over the weekend, and they're now about to have some curveballs thrown at them that are going to make them think, I hope, and really challenge them. And to see how they respond to that is going to be brilliant and a great learning experience for those people. So I thank you all for your time, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with. At this stage, I think, if I remember correctly, I talk about prizes and then I pass to you. Excellent. The prizes we'll go through a bit more later. I don't think that people come to Startup Weekend for prizes necessarily. They are certainly cream on the cake there. The winners today will, hopefully you can see by kind of the layout of those prizes, will walk away with the opportunity to progress their project well and truly beyond this weekend is the way I'd kind of summarise those prizes. We're certainly about gadgets and gizmos and little toys and swag and all that sort of stuff, but for mine it's hopefully we see the team that wins take advantage of this opportunity to drag their project on without having to worry about infrastructure costs, potentially going over to Pollenizer in Sydney and learning from people who are the best in this business. Again, I think I said it on Friday, but my day at Pollenizer 2 or so years ago was the most confronting and illuminating day in my career, and I suspect whoever takes advantage of that will find similar. Space Cube, our venue, providing opening their doors to the winning team for the next 3 months is brilliant, and then also some IP advice from Rowan, some media mentoring from Amy, the FI team doing some personal mentoring as well. The winners are really lucky if they take advantage of this, and I think it's going to help them grow their project well beyond the weekend. The runners-up as well have a bunch of opportunities in terms of credits and access to knowledge. There's a bunch of gadgets and gizmos we throw at a bunch of different people later, and also innovation is really, really a passion point of mine. To have Microsoft chipping in and Xbox is kind of pretty cool for something that may not necessarily have been the most achievable or the best executor or whatever, but I think it's, for someone who kind of takes a real think outside the square risk, gets rewarded and acknowledged too. I think that's terrific. At this stage, I'm going to pass over to our facilitator, the cat in the hat, Rowan Yeoman, who flew in from Sydney on Thursday evening, I think. Hopefully has enjoyed himself in Perth. So, did I say Sydney? All right. Go through this. Yeah, he was in Auckland, I believe, and then flew via Sydney to here. But yeah, he's continued our trend of kind of having. Well, we've actually got your citizenship papers later, so we'll go through that. But yeah, we had Dave Moskovitz kind of show us the ropes last year, and he was brilliant. I was going to say like a grandfather figure or a father figure. That's really... Tell Dave he can be grandfather, and you're our father now, Rowan. So thank you very much for your time this weekend. I'm going to hand over to Rowan to get cracking on the presentations and so on very shortly. Thank you. All right. I don't think I deserve any thanks. I am humbled to be here, very honored to be here. I just fly in and I get the benefit of all you amazing people. I get the benefit of these incredible organizers, judges, participants. I get to suck all the energy out of you, which is an amazing thing to have in my life just at the drop of a hat. And I feel incredibly fortunate to be here, so the gratitude is all mine, believe me. Yeah, you guys, most of you guys know me from the weekend. If you haven't met me, I'm a Startup Weekend Global Facilitator. So I live in Auckland. I travel around Startup Weekends, kind of helping out and doing what I can. And like I say, sucking the life out of everybody I come in contact with. I've organized a bunch of Startup Weekends. I caught the bug about 3 years ago when I attended my first Startup Weekend, the first one we've had in New Zealand. And I've just been hooked ever since. You just meet the best people. You just get, you get this incredible experience. And I don't think there's nothing in life that I've come across that delivers this kind of buzz. I'm going to be really quick because you don't need to hear from me. You've heard from me all weekend. But I just wanted to say, just especially to the participants this week, this weekend, I think taking stock of what you've achieved, taking stock of all the things you've done, and kind of remembering what your friends might have been doing this weekend, what other people in the world, how they might have spent their weekend. And unless your friends are here at Startup Weekend, in which case you're in good company, I'm sure you achieved a lot more than virtually everyone else on the planet did in a weekend. And I've been involved in startups for a long time, and that was my first Startup Weekend experience, realizing, as Sam was saying, I learned, 10 years worth of stuff in a weekend. And I think it's good to just take a moment to reflect on all the great things that you've done, and all the things that probably seemed like the worst parts of the weekend, I'm sure you'll look back on and realize they were the best parts of the weekend. And that's kind of what being human is all about. Diving in and committing yourself to something, and you get halfway through and you go, if I could just teleport out of here, I would, but you can't, so you just dive in deeper and you make it happen, and you come out, a vastly more incredible person. I don't think the people that are just here tonight can really understand. I don't think I can communicate the experience that Startup Weekenders have, the fantastic highs and lows that they go through throughout the weekend, the massive challenges that they overcome. And as mentors and organizers, we get to see this, and it's really special. And this Startup Weekend, I have to say, I saw more pivots this weekend than I've seen at any other Startup Weekend. I'm sure some of those pivots were turning into pirouettes at a time, but everybody came through in the end. And what pivots tell me are that people have had big transformative experiences. People have come here with ideas they've been thinking about for months, possibly years. They've formed teams, they've gone out, they've actually tested them, and people get through 10 years of a startup without actually testing your idea on anything. Team members have come back with the bad news, and they've been confronted by the reality that their idea is rubbish, and something that they've built their personality around for the last 6 months or years is actually in the toilet. And that experience of having to chuck away your idea and having to take a new course and having to do that with other people around you, and in spite of other people around you, there's a kind of courage and flexibility that develops in you, which is particular to entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs have this sort of unique blend of stubbornness and flexibility, this ability to have a vision and drive towards it, but then to know when you're beaten and know when you have to change course. And I think developing that in all of you is an incredible learning experience, and I hope that some of you have had that experience. And I just want to say as well, on top of that, the running through the chaos and the uncertainty of the weekend, I've just been overwhelmed by just how buoyant everybody is, how friendly everybody is. There were times when people weren't being friendly, but it quickly turned back into friendliness. We didn't have any violence and tears, but we maybe came close to it a few times. But I think just the way that everybody made their way through this big challenge and came out the other side is incredible. So I'd say to you, be really proud of yourselves. you know, you've done a great thing this weekend. You've been through a huge human experience and a huge experience as entrepreneurs, and I'm really proud of you, and I'm really proud and privileged to be involved with you. So I'll stop rambling on, but yeah, I just want you to know